Are we recording? All right. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call the August 13, 2026 meeting of the Lexington Planning Commission to order. Our first item is approval of the agenda. Do we have any thoughts from commissioners about the agenda?
Looks good. I move to approve it as presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the agenda is approved. We're moving on to our next item, which is the approval of the minutes from the July 23rd, 2026 meeting. I was not present for that meeting, as you know. Most of you were. Have people had an opportunity to review those minutes?
They're very comprehensive and clean.
Agreed. Are there any corrections or revisions that anyone would like to propose to them?
I move we accept the minutes as presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that also unanimously passes. Minutes are approved. We move to our next agenda item, which is citizens' comments on matters not on the agenda. So this is the opportunity for anyone present who would like to get up and make a comment about anything of public concern to do so. Do we have any citizen comments on matters not on the agenda this evening? So no. Okay, so we'll move along. We'll close citizen comments on matters not on the agenda, and we're moving to new business. So we have 3 items of new business this evening. The first is ECCOA 2026-06, a request by Heather Strong for approval of a certificate of appropriateness for new signage for Pack Mail and More at 449 East Nelson Street. Arnie, do you have a staff report?
Indeed, and good afternoon, everyone. We do have a request for one new wall sign. The sign is already there. This is just to cover it over with a new design. This is for the Pack and Mail at 449 East Nelson Street. The sign is 20 and a third square feet of vinyl. Dimensions are 8 feet by 30.5 inches in height. This will replace the current wall sign that was approved back in 2024. We have a new owner and they would like to have a rebranding. The freestanding multi-tenant sign will not be changed. Those are the ones that are out on the multi-tenant sign closer to East Nelson Street. And the revised wall sign will not be illuminated. You see a little location map there for the Pack and Mail roughly located. And then you see on the next page of your packet, the staff report includes a photograph of the front of the building with the existing wall sign. So the sign that's above the storefront windows and entryway, that particular sign is the one that's being requested to be changed. It does meet the zoning criteria. And over on page 7, we always include for you the criteria, the zoning meets the zoning criteria, but your charge this evening is to look at the signage criteria that are in the entrance corridor overlay district. And those are on the middle of page 7. So under subsection B, so the first one, each parcel will have an overall sign plan. This parcel does not have an overall sign plan, and I doubt it will with the current owner. I don't know why that was necessarily state. Number 2, the materials used in the signs and their support structure should reflect the building served by the sign. And the sign color should be harmonious with the building which they serve. So that's your sort of decision to make on whether or not the proposed sign meets those criteria that are again found in your entrance corridor standards. Over on pages 10 and 11 is the best representation of what the existing sign is and what the proposed sign it will look like. Happy to answer any questions. And we do have an applicant here for follow-ups.
Do we have any questions for Arnie?
And they are the same size and it's going in the exact same location.
Right.
Okay.
My understanding is just a vinyl that's going to go right over top of the existing.
Any other questions for Arnie before we ask for an applicant statement? No? Thank you. Do we have an applicant statement here today? Yes. Sure.
A joke, but you're recording, so I can't tell you.
Well, we appreciate that. Do you want to state your name and address for the record?
I'm so sorry. My name is Heather Strong. The business address is 449 East Nelson Street, Lexington. Our address is in Buena Vista, though.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And you've put the application forward and have no further statement at this time, other than a joke we can share on some other occasion.
Share a
Okay.
joke later. It's literally replacing the vinyl that's on the plexi currently. It's still a red, white, and blue sign. It's just a navy blue and a red. With taking the business over, I felt it was important to rebrand because I know there's been some kind of inconsistency in it, and it is a necessary business for the community. So just want to have it change names so that there's no negative stigma attached.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions?
Just one quick question, and it's probably a moot point, but I think there is a small sign on the door or next to the door. So that's probably it looks like almost like a peel and stick, but will that also get changed? I mean, that's,
I don't know what's in the picture.
Signs that are less than 1 square foot in size do not need to come before you because they're not.
it was just curious.
Did change though, so that it sticks with the color scheme of the sign. We actually thought that kind of was, it just clashed. I just want a more professional appearance.
I think it looks great. It looks, I think, much more professional and it's eye-catching. I think it looks really nice. Nice change.
Hopefully you come in and see.
Yes.
that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well,
Any
thank-
other questions?
Yes, are there any other questions? Thank you very much.
Email Artie, my chair.
Oh, we'll look forward to that. Thank you so much. Do we have any public comment on this matter? Okay, so closing public comment, opening commission discussion and decision. What are our thoughts?
I agree with Tori. It's a very attractive sign, very professional. Looks great. Congratulations to the new owner.
Any other thoughts?
No, I agree. So I'll make a motion. I move to approve the entrance corridor certificate of appropriateness application EC-COA 2026-06 for the wall sign for Pack and Mail and More business at 449 East Nelson Street as proposed by the applicant.
I second that.
All in favor?
I
Any opposed? So it passes unanimously. Thank you very much for being here this evening. Yeah, good luck. Okay, so we'll move right along to our next business item, which is the ongoing discussion of the PDR zoning text amendment issue that we've been talking about for some time now. And I presume you have a staff report.
Indeed. Excuse me. Provide you a quick overview. And then what we're really going to do for the majority portion of this part of your meeting is just to discuss the criteria.
Yeah.
So the criteria you want to utilize for when a application comes before you, how you say yes or no to that. The rest of the staff report, just to quickly review, we've had a number of meetings and you see some strike through and underline as we're going through. Some language has changed, some has been added. Everything in black is really what was provided in the PUD that we're following. So the old PUD that started in 1990 and went up to a certain period of time before we ditched it. So that is everything that is in black. Over on page 16, at the last meeting, we started going through, just to quickly review, I preferred, and I believe it was agreed that we use the PDMU language for the administration. So all the language for what has to be included with the application, how it goes before the planning commission, advertising of the public hearings, all of that administrative sort of business. And so we're cutting in the PDMU language for the administration into this, but then we're also splicing in those bits and pieces that we wanted to keep in the old PUD. So you see that on the bottom of page 16. The blue is the PDMU language that's now been revised, and the strike through and underline that you see there is what we accomplished at the last meeting. And that's true for page 17 and 18. And then we're going to pick up there at the bottom of page 18, where in subsection D, so the planning commission shall review. And then subsection 1, the planning commission shall approve. And this is where we get into the criteria, which we're going to spend a good bit of time, I believe, this evening. Planning commission shall approve the master plan when it finds all that, and that the proposed development in the first one there at the very bottom of the page does not conflict with policies and principles of the city's adopted comprehensive plan. That was already in there. We're just promoting it to the number 1 position. And then the second one there will not be detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare or unduly injurious to property values or improvements in the neighborhood. Those are two very high level criteria. And then we're going to sort of get a little bit more specific as we get into the language. And just a quick reminder, what we're trying to accomplish in PDR is to have more flexibility in those cases when we need more flexibility, because the traditional zoning districts are just a little bit too rigid, particularly now when we're trying to do infill development and redevelopment and to develop parcels perhaps for the first time that are just difficult to develop for a variety of reasons. And then over on the next page on item 3 at the top, in here, I tried to group them as much as I could, sort of according to subject. So the things that are sort of a little bit more design related, perhaps at the top. So enhances Lexington's community sense of place and character and is a better design than can be produced through traditional zoning districts. That again, anything in blue is a PDMU. That's what we're bringing forward, and anything in black is the old PUD. And I'm just going to read these and go through. So if you have any questions or suggestions, please interrupt. 4, incorporates high quality architectural design and provides gradual transitions to surrounding land uses using design features such as setbacks, height step downs, and landscaping. 5, that's number 2 being brought forward from the PUD. And the reason we did sort of jam these together was easier to do that than it was to flip back and forth between where that is and the PUD. So that's why it's provided in this arrangement. So number 5, encourages innovative arrangements of buildings and open spaces to provide efficient, attractive, flexible, environmentally sensitive design. You notice the first one talks about architectural design. So the question overall for you all is, can some of these be combined? Can some of them be perhaps deleted? I didn't want to do too much editing and just providing them for you here for your consideration to see whether or not we can maybe make this list perhaps a little bit shorter, but still comprehensive to accomplish what we want, which is to allow good quality proposals when they come to you, but also for you to have the right to say no when they don't meet your standards, and these are the standards. Number 3, encourages the development of a variety of housing types. So perhaps we've already gotten out of the design section, if you want to call it that. So is there any reaction to sort of 3 through 6? Is there any editing that's needed there?
I do agree that it starts to get repetitive. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that first one kind of does capture number 4 from the PDMU as far as the architecture.
Seems like 4 and 5 could be combined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say similar things.
And what about in number 4, just to sort of do a little bit of combining, incorporates high quality architectural design and innovative arrangements of buildings and open spaces and provides gradual transitions to, is that getting too wordy? I'm just trying to.
Sounds good. Yeah. Can I sort of quickly ask you a question about the whole section that sort of intersects with some of these? So we have these, 17 or 18 criteria. And is the idea that each one of these then would have to be satisfied? Because all 18.
That's still a little bit up for debate in the sense that we have said that there should be a finding of fact.
Right.
And we had a little bit of a discussion at the last meeting. Does that mean the finding of fact that you have to go and satisfy each and every one of them, or like the majority? So we still have to sort of pin down how we indicate in this text amendment how much of this has to be. Like, does every single one of them, or the
Yeah.
majority of them, or it's ultimately it's your discretion. So it's your discretion on deciding these things, but then how much of these things necessarily have to be met. You're also going to have proposals that simply aren't going to address maybe half of these.
Right.
So it's.
And so some of these may be things that we would think if you don't do those things, then it's a no-go. But others may be like aspirational things, but they wouldn't all be met. And we wouldn't want to have the sort of the letter of the rule prevent applicants if we're just saying one of these good things, several of these good things should happen. Am I making sense?
And perhaps to add to that, this is also where we're trying to add flexibility. So you probably want to have flexibility in here and not say absolutely every single one of these has to be met. Otherwise, we cannot approve a PDR.
And that's what I thought we said for the PDMU ones, that we wanted them to address each of these in their package. But right, it may be that, it doesn't have this feature, or it's not a, prevalent feature, but we wanted them to write something about each one. Is that right, Arnie? I mean, that was my recollection, the way
It's
we.
been a while. So,
Yeah.
so the way you
Also,
have it.
To
Go ahead.
John's point, though, I think if we were having a vote on something like we have with other things and they have other criteria, they're only 3 or 4 and this is
Right.
18. That, I mean, if we need to go through and check whether they've met all those, that would
Yeah.
be very difficult and time consuming. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
If we
And I
were
don't think the
actually
intention
having
was
a-
that they would meet
some-
every
Yeah,
one of
somebody
them.
up here saying we want to do this with this plot and they had to go through, a vote and we have to go through each one of those like we have on other votes.
Yes, right.
For what it's worth, over on page 18 at the bottom, the planning commission, subsection number 1 there, before we get into the criteria, planning commission shall approve the master plan when it finds after review, that the master plan is in compliance with the requirements of the plan development residential district and other applicable provisions. And the planning commission approval requires the following findings be made, but it doesn't say how. In other words, so you still, in my mind, that means you have a lot of discretion. So if you don't like, let's say something comes in and it's too bright and shiny and it has it's just
Mhm.
gaudy, you can just pick up one of these things, say, I don't think it meets number 3, and therefore I'm going to vote against it. So that at this point, unless you want or desire to have a little bit more input on how that happens, right now it's pretty open-ended, just the way it's written.
And so findings be made doesn't just mean that we have to find something with respect to each of these. It means we have to find compliance with each of them, right? I don't want to belabor the point, but I just want to, especially on parachuting back in, want to make sure I'm not missing something important.
Am I remembering, sorry,
Please,
am I
please.
remembering correctly from the last meeting that we discussed that a little bit, sort of like how many, because we talked about findings a little bit and I can't remember where we ended up specifically saying that we actually had to go through and find each one, have a finding for each one of these items.
And we pointed out how that's, clearly subjective or could be,
More subjective.
either way.
So there at least wasn't a decision at the last meeting
we
to
have
say
to
that we actually have to find each. Okay.
I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead a section, but apropos of the point we're discussing, if we look at point 7, for instance, encourages the development of a variety of housing types. This is certainly something that we hope this change in zoning would facilitate, but it's not something we would necessarily want to require of every single application, right? There might be an acceptable application that would meet many of the other goals, but not necessarily through increasing the diversity of housing types per se. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've had a number of examples when when we reviewed the PUD and the 12 or so that came through underneath that language and were approved. I'd say half of them were just to add an extra lot that didn't have frontage on a road. So it wasn't adding an additional housing type. It
Right.
was just a single family detached house on a lot.
Right.
And that like for number 7, that's already stated in the purpose, intent and purpose, just saying, have a. Sorry.
So we might be able to, so we're hoping to end up, am I getting a sense that folks think that we hope to end up with a version of this that's maybe a little bit shortened? Am I jumping the gun
No,
a little
it's
I
bit?
think that would
Right.
be helpful.
That's where we wound up last time, was just for
Combine.
whether we allow Arnie to do it or we do it ourselves, right, was to combine.
Well,
both
it
of
was
these
on
and-
different pages, so you did make it more like readable and combinable now, so.
Right.
I don't, And I sort of tossed the baton back to you because it's your staff report. I don't want to.
So
Yeah.
4 and 5, we can do a little bit of a combination there, it sounds like, from what I read, which I think was something that incorporates high quality architectural design and encourages innovative arrangements of buildings and open spaces while providing gradual transitions to surrounding land uses and whatever the rest of that is.
Yeah.
That sound like a good combination?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Then to 6 provides for coordination, but not uniformity of architectural styles within the development and in relation to adjacent properties around the development.
I think that's already captured in if you're sensitive to the environment that it's in, I don't know.
Is there a feeling that that's completely unnecessary and redundant?
Where do you
And
see that,
When-
Leslie? I'm sorry, I missed you.
Between incorporating in 4, right, just right above it, if it's gonna be a high quality architectural design and provides gradual transition to the surrounding land use design features. I mean, to me, that's
Yeah.
saying you want it to blend.
Because the surrounding land uses would include the architectural styles in the vicinity, correct?
Yeah, right.
Is this the only criteria that directly addresses architectural styles? Because I think that is important.
Mhm.
We could, if we could incorporate that or put that into another one of these criteria, that phrase.
Do we, as far as, do we want to dictate architectural styles?
No,
or-
no, just one architectural styles to be considered. That's my feeling.
Mhm.
Coordination, I like that.
Mhm.
I don't know, I get a little,
Yes.
I'm actually okay with a little variety,
Yeah, there's a lot of variety already
right?
in our neighborhoods.
Yeah,
Um,
The
What-
one that might be redundant, I guess you could, that's also what we're trying to do is
Mhm.
take out any that are redundant. Number 7 there, which is also the old number 3.
Mhm.
It says that a couple times up above it. So that one I think is definitely one we could eliminate.
Mhm.
yeah,
Maybe it's easier to eliminate the ones that are
right.
It's a good
spoken up
idea.
before.
It's a good idea. That's a good idea.
You okay with that? Taking out that one, number 3?
So 7, the old 3.
Yeah.
Encourages the development of a variety of housing types. Does everybody think that sounds, provisionally cutting that one sounds good? Yeah.
Charlie, don't let us miss your styles point.
Right. So we've not decided yet to strike 6 about coordination or uniform, but not uniformity of architectural styles, right? Because Charlie, you're
Right.
saying would like there to be some.
there needs to be, in my opinion, mention of architectural styles in these criteria so that can be used potentially.
Right. And you mean not just mention of the architectural design of the proposed use itself, but like of its relationship to the surrounding architecture?
Correct.
Okay. Should we hold on to 6 for now?
Sure.
And, maybe revisit that if we're
Sure.
we doing, how do folks feel about that as a?
How about we highlight that for the next go around so that we don't lose
Yeah,
that particular. The architectural styles in particular, I think is what we're
Agreed.
trying to do.
Yeah, seems important. And I also agree that we might be able to lop off some low hanging fruit here where it's easy to cut some, and maybe it'll be a more parsimonious list at that point.
Okay, moving on to 8 then, old 4, encourages the clustering of single-family dwellings for more efficient use of land and the preservation of open space and significant natural features. So that might be the one that's really more about the environment or significant features and preservation of open space for what that's worth.
Okay.
So nothing there. Moving on to 9, old number 5, enables developments designed to function as cohesive, unified projects. This is a very typical one for PDs and anything that's a planned development. In theory, should have enough of whatever the new thing is to make sense so that you just don't have one of those, whatever they are, hanging out on its own.
Right.
That's fairly typical PD language.
Number 6, old number 8 has some of that language there.
Yes.
Mhm.
So,
Could they be combined? Or do you think that
Well,
perhaps this
y-
one is redundant?
um, pro- provides for, well, why don't we just say it provides for cohesive but not uniform. I mean, you could, because then, I don't know, I was gonna say. Because one is talking about the whole development and then the other one is talking about within the development, so.
Right. That's true.
Number 10 might combine better with 6.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
could just maybe shoehorn architectural styles into number 10. That phrase.
Are we using Roman numeral 10 or
Numeral 10, X,
X?
DI and X.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree
Thank
with
you,
that.
Jonathan.
Yeah, sure. So which two are we now talking about?
6 and 10,
6 and 10.
Roman numeral 6 and
Yeah.
Roman numeral 10.
Yeah, that's good.
Um,
Yeah, you're right.
10, development harmonizes with existing adjacent properties, architectural styles, uses
Yeah.
and development patterns.
That's good. Yeah.
You
Right?
say,
Yeah,
then
that's
we can-
good.
So just to be clear, architectural styles is going to be coming after existing adjacent properties.
I think you could put it anywhere in that list.
Yeah.
So then if we're okay with that, then Roman numeral 6 can go.
I think so.
Yeah. Is everyone good with that?
mhm.
Anything still to do with 9, Roman numeral 9? Or maybe we'll just leave that for now and then see if it's got a possibility with something else.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I still think that or if it's not in number 4 above it, it should be. I mean, I think that kind of all goes together about how the overall
Yeah,
layout is.
that's true. So perhaps 9 could be incorporated into 4. Is that,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm. Are we thinking, Arnie, that following this discussion this evening, y'all will come back to us with sort of a shorter version of that's great. And
Correct. Maybe even doing strike through and underline like we've done with the rest of it if it's not too messy. But yes, then you'll see at least the proposed language after your discussion tonight.
that's great.
We're still working towards that final draft
Yeah.
that will end up being advertised for a public hearing at some point.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, so like you might just add that last section to function as cohesive unified projects.
That'd be nice.
In number 4,
Yeah,
And to number 4, yeah.
that's nice. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're at 11.
Yeah.
Ensures preservation of cultural features, scenic assets, and natural features such as floodplain, streams, natural drainage ways, wooded areas, steep slopes, or other areas of sensitive or valuable environmental character.
Standalone.
Yeah, that's important. And I don't think it talks about it anywhere else.
Right.
Alrighty.
Is there any interest in consolidating that with 8 in some way? Just to throw it out there, I don't have a strong feeling about it, but the sort of open space, which seems to be the main point of 8, since clustering of single family dwellings, again, to me is kind of like variety of housing types, and that it may not be a feature of every approvable one, but the goal of preserving open space and significant natural features probably would apply to all of them, right? We would want to see some care done to that. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Why I'm wondering, are single family homes called out?
Right,
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
That's what.
right,
That seems odd.
right.
Um,
Because that's a technique that could accomplish the goal, but there's other techniques
Sure.
to accomplish the goal, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you really need number 8?
or that phrase at least.
Right, maybe, maybe we could take the second, like some version of the second part of 8 and incorporate it into 11. That makes sense. Right, ensures preservation of cultural features, open spaces, scenic assets.
Well, open space is that a phrase of art, really?
It's a good question.
I think it might be.
Mm.
So you might wanna, it's a technique
Yeah,
for the preservation of cultural features,
Right.
scenic assets and natural features.
right. And again,
Except that steep slopes and floodplains and roads are not included.
so are you suggesting that preservation of open space is itself a term of art, naming a technique, just as clustering of single family dwellings is essentially naming a technique?
Yes.
And are those techniques just sort of encompassed in the set of goals described in 11 now? In other words, could we just drop 8 and keep 11, or do we think that it's important to have both of those in there?
I think you could drop 8 and keep 11, in my opinion. I prefer 11.
Me too.
It's very specific.
Yeah.
You-
And we're, of course, if we do as Arnie was suggesting, and if we come back and we have them, if they're struck through, then we're not really finalizing decisions. We could always revisit that if someone feels that's important.
Mhm.
We're just looking to have like our next draft on that, basically. Yeah. What do you think about that provisionally?
I like it.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
All right, so 8 will be struck through.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think it's also in 5, which we're gonna combine with 4.
right. Yeah, totally.
8's going away. Old 4.
All right, if we're good there, then 11 was apparently something that we already talked about at the last one. So instead of improves, strike that and provide sidewalk and pedestrian access and adds green infrastructure as appropriate. And then 13, old 10, ensures that the street, sidewalks, pedestrian and bicycle ways are appropriate for the PUD. Of course, that would be PUTR in the neighborhood, that they are adequate to ensure safe and efficient circulation, provide ingress and egress sufficient to minimize traffic congestion in the area and maintain the safety and capacity of adjacent streets. And that's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
Well, it's not addressed anywhere else that
Yeah.
I can see, so he
All
almost had
important
to.
stuff.
Traffic
Yeah.
flow.
And even though it's a lot of words, it's pretty clear about what it means, I think. So,
If we're good there, then on 14 provides adequate parking to avoid impact on adjacent areas. I just realized we are getting into the section that we've already discussed last time. Happy to discuss it some more, but everything that's in blue there has already been
Yeah.
part of the discussion at the last meeting.
Good.
We're okay with that first cut with combining PUD and PDMU criteria.
Mhm.
Okay. So what we'll do, we'll go through, do the strike through and underline as we just spoke and have that back for you at your next meeting for discussion.
I still haven't called public comment on this though, so I should probably just allow an opportunity. Would you like to make any comment on? No, thank you. Okay. So is there any further commission discussion or we?
Can I ask a question? This is going back. Since we're talking about design, on page 15, under access and circulation, it says that the PUD provision may not be utilized for projects in which only existing public streets will be used to provide access to residential structures. And I thought I understood the reasoning why, but then being that we didn't want it just to avoid I assumed that's in there because you just don't want to avoid the current zoning. Yeah,
So
but
you're on the
the first sentence.
first sentence.
And I'm just wondering, why is it like that? In some ways, if you had like clustered parking, you might just be using
Mhm.
the existing streets and not need any additional streets.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
I'm not 100% sure, but my reading of it is if you have public streets for every single lot or every single access point, then you just do the typical standard, what's allowed in the R1, R2 zoning districts. What are you necessarily needing a variance or flexibility for?
Mhm.
So that's my sort of interpretation. If you have all the existing streets, then you just
Ri-
do the standard.
And that's how I read it at first. But then like after we did the cottage housing, I started thinking, well, what if somebody wants to, on a corner lot, you've got two access points to do clustered parking at one of those spaces? Well, even, for example, we had talked about Houston Street. Just take that for an example. If you did cluster parking and you wanted to use this rather than the cottage housing or
Yeah.
to do something, do you really have to put in interior streets?
Yep. So am I hearing perhaps a vote for taking that out?
So I just think it limits.
And we're about flexibility here. So
It is confusing.
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
it definitely takes a couple of readings and trying to decipher what they may have intended.
Yeah, right, right.
Okay, we can strike through that first sentence then.
Good. Cool. So do you have anything? You don't have anything?
Nothing else
for us,
for
right?
PDR.
Right. And are we all through with what we have to say about this for now? Okay, thank you, everybody. So,
Have a-
oh, yes, please. Yes.
This is kind of a silly comment, but there are three places where slope is defined.
Mhm.
Once it's defined as greater than 15%, another time it's greater than 20%, another time it's greater than 25%.
Mm.
So I don't, there may be some regulatory reasons for that,
Mm.
but I would recommend that we check that.
Good comment.
Where are we, Charlie? Sorry.
The first time I noticed it was uh, on page 15, open space, slopes greater than 20%. Next place, page 17, existing conditions map, including steep slopes greater than 15%.
Mhm.
And then somewhere after
Hmm.
that, it says 25. I know it does.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Page 18, paragraph B. Third line, at the end of the third line, slopes greater than 25%.
A
Yeah,
big variation there.
that's true.
Yeah.
Here's a steep slopes
There is.
standard, and we'll go find what that is and plug that in. I can't remember if it's
No, there is.
25% or, but thank you
It's
for
in
the
that
eagle
ballpark.
eye.
Yeah.
15 to 25%. It's in there somewhere.
The consistency would be helpful, certainly.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Good catch.
A good
Yeah,
catch.
yeah. Okay, so we'll move to our third item of new business, which is our planning commission work plan discussion. So Arnie, I think you again have the staff report.
Just quickly, your last work plan for 2025 had those 5 items in there and added the parenthetical, so what's in parentheses. So we've already done mini warehouse and townhouses, obviously, so those are struck through. And we're in the process, or you're done at least with the comp plan review.
Mhm.
And just an update there. The one item that has to go to VDOT is transportation chapter. They have reviewed it. They provided comments. There were 3 comments and they were all really not substantive. Those have come back and been incorporated, but we still haven't gotten a letter from VDOT saying that you're in compliance or whatever the letter's going to say. Once that happens, then we go to council for the final public hearing process, and then the comp plan review will be completely done
Great.
until 5 years from now. And then we're clearly working on PDR. So the one item to explain there, in entrance corridor, there was a desire from planning commission to do the entire entrance corridor design standards. In the entrance corridor here, not here because I'm not at the office anymore, but along East Nelson Street and along South Main Street, to more holistically provide standards for when those properties are redeveloped so that we would have a better product potentially. We are finding that we have a more immediate need, and sorry that maybe entrance corridor as a whole may have to drop down the list a little bit, but we have the monument style signs. So the signs that a previous planning director somehow found money from the city or from some other source and discussed with property owners, because we have pictures of 20 years ago when the signs were 25-foot
Mhm.
pole signs, and it was quite ugly through both of those. But what didn't happen after the city kicked in some money and convinced property owners to change their signs to monument style signs, so the sign is as wide as it is all the way down. It's not sticking on a pole, and it's got a monument base. So if you go up and down East Nelson, and if you go down South Main, you'll see that they're all low signs, monument style
Yeah.
with some sort of brick or masonry base to them. That did not get codified in the zoning ordinance as far as I can tell. And that's not an issue until somebody comes in and wants a sign, and then we don't have that specifically codified. So I would prefer, if you're okay with it, that we push the whole entrance corridor further down the list, and then Brinsley and I go do a quick targeted amendment, which means we go out and measure each and every single monument style sign in those two corridors, provide you with photographs, provide you with dimensions for each of them. And then we go through and develop a quick little targeted sign code update so that any new developments have to also abide by that same sort of style, same sort of size requirements.
So is that typically going to be relative again to the size of the building, then the sign is is it in relation to it, or?
It'll be interesting to see
yeah.
on how that pans out, in the sense that we can provide you with the sizes of all the signs. We can go out and measure those on a nice day, and then provide you also with the sizes of the buildings. The problem is going to be when we
Or
have
just
this-
frontage, maybe just frontage.
when we have the strip center and there's multiples, it's not going to be as clean or as clear as it is with one sign for one building on one property. But we can do that to give you at least apples to whatever apple adjacent is. Pear, yeah.
Yeah, don't feel obligated to do every sign if you, if you
They're
can just
not that
find
many.
key markers, ones
Yeah.
that have,
I think it's also
Pretty
good for us to know, because
okay,
I'm not sure we know, because
right.
I haven't checked on this, but I presume maybe they weren't required to come in for permits or entrance corridor if there was even an entrance corridor requirement at that point. So it might be good for us just to have a file of
Okay.
sizes anyway. But it is a quite interesting contrast, and we'll provide you pictures when we go through that exercise of what the corridor looked like 30 years ago with the signage. And so there's been more landscaping than you might realize. And there's certainly the sign diet, and bringing those signs down has had a tremendous improvement in the visual quality of the corridor, both
Mhm.
corridors. So is that an acceptable tactic?
That's great.
Good. When you're
then-
collecting the size data on those monument signs, you might think about other things that you could collect at the same time, like illumination.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't know, style.
That's a
That's a
good point.
good point.
Most of them are illuminated, but some of them won't be. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then new items for you all to consider, sort of how we prioritize these things. My limited understanding is that in this last legislative session, there was a proposal for retail cannabis sales, not just for medical use, but retail. And I think the governor tried to amend that as she tried to amend a number of other pieces of legislation. This particular one, they decided, no, we're not going to go forward with that. So it will probably pop up again at
But
the
It
next.
did get approved. Didn't it get put in the budget? I thought it got approved.
It may have. I haven't gone back. I haven't taken the time to
Get
look.
approved through the back door to start next summer.
With the regulations that were approved modified by the governor, or
That's a good
original
question.
set.
I don't
I don't
know.
know the-
Yeah.
Okay,
I
but
meant to go look at
it
that.
needs to be
Right.
on our agenda
Mm.
because it's coming, and we also have to wait a little bit to see what's been approved. But if we now know what's approved, and it's just a time period,
Mhm.
we need to do a little bit of prep work between now and then to see what type of rules and regulations and what type of flexibility we have with those regulations for cannabis retail sales.
And the one good thing, from what I recall, is there's only a certain number of permits the state will issue. So we're not like, same with like the ABC stores, so we're not likely to get more than one for our, probably for region, yeah.
Okay.
That's good to know.
So
And
then,
you're saying that you may be able to, like, say it's not allowed downtown? I mean, but you don't know if that's gonna be allowed by the state, is what you're saying, something like that, like they could prevent us from saying that?
well, I
or
haven't, my
something
problem
like
is I
that.
haven't looked up, so I don't know where we are with the legislation exactly, which we'll do that research. But we are only enabled in a Dillon rule state to do what they allow us to do. So if, as an example, they say we can only have one based on population or distance from someplace else, then I'm hoping that we can say, well, we prefer that to either be in the C1 zoning district, which is downtown, or in the C2 zoning district, which is out the two corridors.
Right.
Maybe we have some flexibility there. What's typical is, and this is adult businesses and other things, you can say it has to be a minimum of X number of feet from a church or X number of feet from another adult business so that you can sort of spread them out so you don't get a cluster and you don't get them in perhaps inappropriate locations. That would be fairly typical for us to be able to set some standards, minimum distance standards or separation standards. But it'll be interesting to see if we are only limited to one and how much flexibility are we going to have in the zoning ordinance to say what zoning district, as an example, that could go into. Just don't know enough now to really answer questions specifically.
Definitely try to get ahead of it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the VML conference in October, they're actually having a session on it, so. You'll probably have all the answers before then, though.
Well, it depends on your prioritization of this list.
Mhm.
And then the last one, just to give an overview there, we have had a little bit of background is that we have had a number of comments from folks, mainly at the ARB level, but certainly some from other members of our community, not particularly happy with the design, and this is no offense to council, of the design for the 63 apartments that we're going to go into Spotswood, just because of the size of that building. This is under Edwin Gaskin, apartment block building kind of thing. Didn't fit in with our community, wasn't brick, didn't have columns. So that also was levied a little bit against the General's Retreat property. Right now, as you're going down East Nelson, those are the townhouses that are kind of between Varner Lane and the Lambda Chi house. So that is, they're proposing and have gotten site plan approval to redevelop that and double the density, which is something that we need certainly. They haven't pulled the trigger on that yet. But they also showed a very blocky, flat roofed building. And some people may not be in favor of that. And even during the public hearing that we had for General's Retreat, there was a comment, well, why do we allow only 45 feet in height if 45 feet in height is the number? Well, that's what we allow. Well, you're not allowing the architect said something to the effect, well, you're not allowing us to have a peaked roof. Well, my retort was, well, you're just using 45 feet that we allow, and you're just putting a floor on every single one. You could have one less floor and have a peaked roof. And then I think it was Lee Merrill said, well, we should perhaps look at allowing additional height, but just for a roof. So do we want, and this is what I've offered to the General's Retreat folks, if they are willing to perhaps consider a peaked roof, I offered that we would go through the process of considering a zoning text amendment to allow a peaked roof. My thought process is, if it's a blocky building, kind of large, if it at least had a peaked roof on it, it might better fit in with all the other peaked roofs around. It's not going to be the element that ties it completely in. It's not going to have columns and red brick and all the other things that some of us may expect here in Lexington.
Mhm.
So if they come back and say, yes, we would like to consider putting on a peak roof so that we better perhaps fit in with their surrounding properties and buildings, we may be doing a text amendment to explore whether or not we can allow an extra 10 feet of height as long as it's only for a peak roof, doesn't contain extra living space, or, we'll figure out the details at that point. So that's another potential text amendment.
So just to clarify, if they redid General's Retreat right now, however the code is written, they can build a block building with a flat roof? There's no, they don't have to ask to do that, they just can do it? Okay,
They are in between entrance corridor design standards that we've just talked about and between historic downtown so they're in that little middle ground right through that section where they do not have to come here for design.
But is there a height? Is there a height maximum? There
Yeah.
is, okay.
So as an example, I'm pretty sure they're RM. So in RM, 45 feet is the building height maximum. And they used the 4 floors and they maxed out and had a flat roof. It's a
so
modern
you
style.
don't have to require them to do a peaked roof.
So the question, and if we did what I'm thinking we could do, which isn't a very great explanation, it wouldn't be that it's required. It's just giving a
them
little bit of extra height for someone who wants to put on a peak roof.
But they still might not do it.
Right.
But am I understanding correctly, the idea would be you would only get the extra height if you
You're
were
doing
going
a peaked roof.
We're not saying peak roof and here's an extra half floor of
Right.
Right.
dwellings or
Right.
apartments. At
Well,
least
you-
that's my, now.
Measure the
change
height
it.
differently. Instead of including the roof and the height,
Right.
it wouldn't be
Yeah.
included, yeah.
And then maybe, but not more than.
Yeah, right. fair
something.
enough.
Yeah.
You know, and even if you have a flat roof, it does provide some other opportunities. I mean, you could have a rooftop terrace, garden,
Mhm.
things like that.
That's true.
Does hide some of the mechanical equipment. It's,
True, and it's probably how the whole package comes together, whether
Yeah,
it ends up
right.
looking like Seattle or communist block, like the scene, or whether it comes together and
I
looks.
used the word block too many times.
I mean, follow how it's presented or how they draw
Mm-hmm.
up the plans, I guess, the architectural plans, but I see your point, Leslie.
Yeah.
So I think, do you have anything more to tell us about this? I thought maybe we'd ask you any further questions we have open to public comment in case anybody has that, right? And then, I think you're looking for prioritization from us across these things in the end, right? Is there anything else you wanted to
Nothing
share with
else.
us first? Any other questions for Arnie at this time? Any public comment? Okay, what do you all think? I mean, do we agree that all of these are items that we should take up? Would it make sense I mean, Arnie, you've indicated that the entrance corridor signs is potentially time sensitive, right?
Not terribly, but it is a little bit time sensitive.
It
yes.
can't wait for the full entrance corridor
Right,
review.
right, yeah, correct.
That,
I definitely would like to do it
yeah.
before that.
Are there, I mean, if you were just to look at what you would see as planning director about time sensitivity of various tasks and also just like the relative, like some of these look to me like we probably would get them done in a meeting or two. And others look like things that could extend more, right? What are your thoughts on those two variables? Like the entrance corridor signs is probably just a couple meetings, right?
Once we do the field work, yeah, I do not believe that there's going to be too much required for that.
And building height,
I haven't done the research, so I don't know how many options there are, but maybe a couple meetings more than what might be needed for monument style signs. But again, not involved as the other things. PDR much more involved, just as an example.
and the
Cannabis, I would imagine, is
a little bit
more
more.
involved. Yeah.
right,
That's new. It's completely new. So that's going to certainly take more.
and it's also a question of like, I mean, there's
What
things changing around us.
We're allowed to do.
Exactly.
I
So-
think Blacksburg is starting to work on it, so it always helps to
Sure.
Yeah.
look at what someone else has done.
See what they did.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
My only caveat is with building height is simply to say only if General's Retreat wants to go for it. I mean,
Totally.
That's sort of the kicker to start that off. That's not the only reason we could do it anyway, but I'm just waiting to hear back from them if that's something that they would entertain, and therefore we could go through this process to hopefully make that project a little bit more
Is there any
compatible.
reason we couldn't be a little flexible about both that and the cannabis one, because they're both depend on what other people are doing a little bit? Something moves it up, we move it up. Is that, we have that flexibility, right? And the idea is keep working on PDR, but start bringing these other things up one by one alongside that as we go.
And it's up to you sort of prioritization of how you like to bring those up.
What do y'all think?
I think that sounds good.
Good.
Okay.
Do we have a proposed order?
I would recommend we go with entrance corridor first, dependent on the initiation, dependent on data collection.
Okay.
Then building height and then cannabis.
How does that all sound? And with the proviso that, if something happens with respect to the building height or cannabis issue that, justifies moving it up.
Right.
Does that sound? And we keep going on PDR and.
Yeah.
And then the broader entrance corridor review kind of stays on the list, but further down.
Yeah.
How's that sound to you, Arnie?
Sounds great.
Commission
Yep.
agrees? Awesome. I
For your
think that
consideration.
brings our new business to a close. In other business, do you have a zoning and planning report?
Just for your information, the fire suppression system incentive program, the EDA at their last meeting approved 3 more.
Great.
Fire suppression zero interest loans. One was for Lex Pres. Their project was much bigger than the maximum amount, so they maxed out at $125,000 for their loan.
Yeah.
And then the Sheridan buildings, that's the building that contains everything from where Globe Bowl used to be all the way down to where Bigger Chicken is now.
Oh, good.
So that combination of buildings owned by Dr. Sheridan and a couple other folks. And then the old Lexco coffee location.
Okay.
They're planning to put in 2 spaces on the first floor, which will become commercial spaces. They could be used or leased as one, but they'll also be split, and then 2 residences above.
That's great.
Where the coffee shop used to be? That's gonna have 2 spaces?
Somebody could lease it as one commercial space because there's actually 2 buildings. I never knew this, but if you go in, there are 2 different buildings, and there was like a little connector that happened at some point. So they're
Yeah.
I didn't know
have the flexibility to, if you want to rent just the back or just the front, or rent the whole bottom as one commercial space, which I presume is the way Lexco operated.
But you'd have to access that one from the parking lot. It'd be like an office.
From the back.
Yeah.
So it's not a pleasant entrance if you just go through the alleyway. Not so good that way.
Not bad.
Thank
And
you.
another item, the city's still working on the redesign of the McCrum's parking lot with an architectural design firm and getting input from the new ownership group with Southern End Building. So that's going to take some time. Another project that is ongoing is undergrounding of utilities along West Washington and Lee Avenue, working with another design firm, but also with Washington and Lee. And then, as you already noticed, but just to make it really obvious, is there's a lot of demolition and construction. Both at WNL, at VMI, and we're going to be working on the bridge at Lime Kiln before too long, and also projects for water, sewer, and stormwater in the Jackson Avenue area that will be going on for a number of phases over several years.
Just for my own knowledge, the Lime Kiln Park there before the bridge, is that construction project related to each other? Is the Lime Kiln Park going away, or?
There's been a lot of chatter on
Talk
Facebook.
About it, and I'm confused of whether they're just redoing the park or eliminating the park.
No, there are 2 bits to that, and city manager, because of the chatter, I presume, has a nice update on sort of how the park is being affected. So we have the Lime Kiln Bridge that needs to be replaced. So there needs to be a laydown area for the bridge. But that is VDOT money, so it's federal money. So there has to be pedestrian access available the entire time that construction is going on. if the contractor gets the okay from VDOT to put in a separate public pedestrian bridge on its own, then that's their preference. And then they can just do the bridge and completely take it apart and whatnot. So that impacts Lime Kiln Bridge Park to a degree. And then also when we're doing the projects for the
Jackson.
stormwater, water, sewer projects, particularly the sewer, there's sewer in the front part of the Lime Kiln Bridge Park. So there's going to have to be shut down for parts of that because there's sewer lines and manholes. So there's going to be some disruption in the park for a while.
And a while back, they did a survey on what people wanted to see in that park, right? I mean, so it was gonna be remodeled.
It
or
always
ren-
was gonna be put back, yeah.
Yeah,
It-
renovated into something different, right?
Exactly. I think the original plan was just to announce to the people for 2 years, the
Right.
park's gonna be out of commission
Right.
because you're replacing the bridge, you're working on Jackson Avenue. We need lay down space, plus they're working right there. People got all up in arms and the park was gonna be redone afterwards.
You're right.
So we'll try to keep portions of it open during some of this, but I can't imagine anyone's gonna want to take their kids
Right.
there.
Well,
It
that's
makes no
that's the
sense
thing,
to
Yeah,
me, but
but they were gonna reinvent it anyway.
They were
I mean, I know
always
there was
going to,
different
yes, you're
proposals
exactly
of
right.
how to improve it or
right, you're
add to
exactly
it or
right.
something anyway.
That was WNL project. I can't remember which students, but they
Yeah.
had a number
Yeah.
of designs and all that proposed. And
Mhm.
Can't remember how that shook out, but yes.
Mhm.
That's all I have for.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Arnie? Okay, well, thank you very much. Leslie, do we have a city council report?
Yeah, we met last Thursday and we had the public hearing on the conditional use permit for the tattoo parlor and that passed unanimously. And we, at our next meeting next week, we will likely appoint someone to be the interim council member since David has moved up and that spot's open. That's all I have unless there's any questions.
Questions? No? Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, thanks to everybody. We have only one item left, but it's going to require one of you to take the initiative. You moved it? Okay, good. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Want to keep going? Okay, unanimously adjourned.
Thank
Well
you all.
done, John.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Back.
With a crew like you, it's a lot of fun to do, actually. What a nice